Part 7. Creation of the World, Binding God Simulator at the Beginning. Author, Yefeng Feng. Chapter 61. Alas, I didn't expect it, I really didn't expect it. I thought Tianzhou Academy was going downhill, but I didn't expect that a person who was treated as a joke could stand to the end and walk on the same track with Goddess Tang. Yeah, you say, with the troops in Bai Ziyi's hands, is it possible to really? The students were discussing enthusiastically, and suddenly a classmate mentioned something hesitantly. As a result, several boys jumped out and immediately denied it. No way. No matter how good this kid's strategy is, he can't beat Goddess Tang. After all, the next mechanical Godzilla is the highlight. In the face of absolute strength, all calculations and strategies are nothing but clouds. That's right, Goddess Tang has a commander-level dragon of order in her hand. How can he win? Just relying on that humanoid big bug. This group of people, at first glance, are Tang Qingqing's crazy fans. After their output and ridicule, many people looked grim and didn't speak. Turning her eyes to the big screen, Xia Yunyu was also nervous, knowing Bai Ziyi's situation very well. Boom. Suddenly, in Bai Ziyi's world, 10 beams of light shot up into the sky and crashed into the clouds. Finally, they gathered into a point and fell into the center of the mechanical planet. The huge body was covered with white light, and Mechagodzilla slowly appeared with a heavy roar. But at this moment, suddenly a dark fireball fell from the sky and flew towards Mechagodzilla's back. Ding ding dings hitten. A strange electromagnetic sound sounded, and it was Hypertsetan who released the fireball. The latter had just been born and had no time to react. With a boom, the firelight like purgatory spread out, hitting Mechagodzilla and staggering, almost falling down. Roar. Mechagodzilla, who reacted, roared, pulled his tail and turned his body frantically. All these scenes showed that it had been enraged. But before Mechagodzilla launched an attack, the black spots in the sky swept over again. Looking closely, it was the army of meteor bugs. They flew at high speeds, and even rubbed out deep blue flames around their bodies. Together, they looked like a dragon with fire all over its body in the air, spinning and opening its bloody mouth, blasting towards Mechagodzilla. In an instant, the surrounding cities shook several times in succession, raising clouds and smoke, floating in the air. But within a few minutes, a beam of red light sprayed out from the smoke. The wanton sweeping caused large groups of meteor bugs to fall to death, and the smell of burning lingered for a long time. Mechagodzilla stood upright and walked out of the smoke unscathed, his posture still proud. Sure enough, even with a large number, it can't cause substantial damage to its armor. It seems that I can only use that trick. Bai Ziyi thought about it, he looked down, and his pair of dark pupils gradually began to emit a golden glow. Ding, the Eye of God is being activated. At this time, the world that Bai Ziyi saw was golden. He looked through a group of meteor bugs flying in the air, wanting to take a closer look at Mechagodzilla's body to see if there were any weaknesses or loopholes. But what surprised him was that he couldn't detect any special points, it was still golden. Why is this Eye of God the same when it is opened and not opened? Is there something wrong? Bai Ziyi was full of doubts. At the same time, the Skywing Tigers and the Dapens also arrived one after another. In an instant, a strong wind blew, and the holy light came, attacking Mechagodzilla all at once, but still couldn't cause any damage, but made the opponent more arrogant. Ha ha ha. That's what I said. How can these low-level creatures compare with Goddess Tang's Dragon of Order? Even if they unite together, they can't break Mechagodzilla's armor, they will only be exhausted to death. And Goddess Tang's Dragon of Order directly challenged Mechagodzilla. Laughter came from outside the field, but the next second, they couldn't laugh. On the screen, Hyperzetan's two pincers were across his chest, and a white light came in an instant, and a majestic force was condensed in it. His blood was boiling, and the aura of annihilation spread, and the mechanical creatures touched rusted instantly. Finally, accompanied by a loud boom, two huge sickle-shaped arms suddenly appeared in front of everyone in the province. Ding ding dings, high done. Changing the previous decadent state, Death Scythe Jeton took a step forward, and the despair emanating from his body made Mechagodzilla instinctively retreat. Ding. Hypert Zeton successfully changed his form, and Death Scythe Zeton was born. Ding, the spiritual energy of the mother planet exceeded 10,000 times, the world showed a 10,000 times speed development, the plants increased at an accelerated rate, and the biological evolution reached its peak moment. A series of sounds rang in Baizi's ears, and the people outside the field immediately exclaimed, "Oh my! That humanoid longhorn beetle actually evolved on the battlefield. The two sickles gave me a terrible feeling, even stronger than the double pincers just now. Look, he attacked Mechagodzilla." On the screen, the changed form of Death Scythe Zeton flashed and immediately teleported behind Mechagodzilla. Focusing on his back, the frame was framed with two blades, and sparks flew, and with a wail, Mechagodzilla suffered its first injury. After reacting, it was not to be outdone, and opened its mouth wide, trying to release a proton scream to fight back. Wait, that is. Baizi seemed to have noticed something. At the moment when Mechagodzilla opened its mouth wide, a hint of red flashed across the golden world in Baizi's eyes. "It's the mouth," Baizi pointed out immediately. At this time, the proton scream had been launched, and the unprepared Death Scythe Jeton had to spread his arms to reach it, but was beaten back step by step. It was still the successive actions of several leaders that barely resisted this crisis. Without time to breathe, Baizi discovered the opponent's weakness and quickly gave an order. "Mouth. Mechagodzilla's mouth is its weakness. Concentrate on the attack to cause a fatal blow to it." These voices were transmitted to the ears of the creatures below, and their sluggish atmosphere was immediately ignited. It is the will of the Father God. The Father God has given us the direction. Follow the will of the Father God and attack the mouth of this iron guy with all your strength. Then, without waiting for Baizi to say anything, the leaders rushed to prepare a strategic plan. If you want Mechagodzilla to open its mouth, you must let it launch a proton scream. In other words, there must be a group of sacrifices who are willing to resist a wave of proton screams, and then they will attack its weaknesses. At this time, the Universe Insect King took the initiative to ask for orders and led half of the meteorite insects to form a death squad to lure the enemy. The counterattack has begun. Creation of the World, Binding God Simulator at the beginning. Author, Yefeng Feng. Chapter 62. At this time, the resources and supplies from the rear were also delivered in batches. With these supplies, the meteor bugs seemed to have unlimited physical strength and their bodies became stronger. Organized, they flew towards Mechagodzilla mercilessly. Mechagodzilla seemed to have noticed something about their desperate behavior. It did not use the proton scream to attack again, but immediately raised the missiles on its shoulders and back, and used dense rain of fire to shoot down a large number of meteor bugs from a distance. The firepower was so strong that even the Universe Bug King could not get close. Just when the Suicide Squad was at a loss, a large lake of nuclear waste water surged behind Mechagodzilla, and countless huge tentacles stretched out from it. It wrapped Mechagodzilla's hands, feet, head, body, and even its tail in circles, making it impossible to launch the missiles on its shoulders. Seizing the opportunity, the Universal Insect King took the lead, leading 500 meteor bugs, and quickly rushed to Mechagodzilla, and used sharp claws to attack its mouth, trying to pry it open. After a set, although it did not cause any substantial damage to Mechagodzilla, it also made it feel extremely irritated. The slender tail behind it swung hard and broke free from the tentacles, and quickly synthesized an electric drill, and in a moment, a large number of tentacles of the Water King were cut off, and it regained its freedom. Roar! Mechagodzilla roared, and it was full of meteor bugs all over its body, trying to get rid of them all. Unfortunately, Bai-Ze would not give it a chance. The long-lurking Gatenger risked his life to attack, and the tentacles directly tied up Mechagodzilla, and the two empty tentacles pressed against its mouth, trying to pry it open. The Dapen clan led by Kunpeng was not willing to lag behind. They launched support from the air. With two sharp bird claws, they accurately captured the arms of Mechagodzilla, firmly controlled it, and restricted its ability to move. Mechagodzilla, which was 100 meters tall, was almost covered by Bai-Ze's creatures, revealing only a pair of rotating eyeballs, which was slightly scary. But the next second, the eyeballs gradually turned red. It was forced into a hurry, struggling with its body, and suddenly opened its big mouth, and a long condensed red beam of light erupted rapidly. The high temperature caused all creatures to retreat, and those who were a step slower became a piece of charcoal on the spot. But Bai-Ze was not sad when he saw this, but was extremely happy. He hurriedly gave orders to let Doughty and Death Scythe Jeton take action. The opportunity has come, let's do it. With an order, Doughty took a step forward, and the Skywing Tiger following behind it also spread its wings. In an instant, holy light fell, and a great energy surged in the body of the Doughty bathed in it. This is the group skill of the Tianyi Tiger clan, which can temporarily apply their own power to their leader. Roar! The Doughty roared, and he quickly opened his mouth after charging. A black and white mixed destructive beam was spinning forward, until it collided with the proton scream of Mechagodzilla, creating a wave of shocking confrontation. Oh my god! Hard against Mechagodzilla? What kind of energy is this? It dares to confront Mechagodzilla's proton scream, and it doesn't lose. Too scary. I didn't expect that the creatures under Bai-Ze's hands have such terrifying potential. There was a shouting outside, and the next scene made them open their eyes wide. The body of Death Scythe Jeton turned into a residual image. When it reappeared, it was already next to Mechagodzilla and split into two. Its sickle-shaped arm was attached with a yellow beam of light, and a beam of light stabbed into Mechagodzilla's mouth. Suddenly, sparks flew, the beam of light forked, and the surrounding buildings and mechanical towers were all destroyed. Bai-Ze clearly saw that there was a gun muzzle in Mechagodzilla's mouth. If nothing unexpected happened, that should be the key to launching the proton scream. Without much hesitation, Bai-Ze immediately passed this news to Death Scythe Jeton. After realizing it, Death Scythe Jeton and his clones pushed Mechagodzilla and started to sprint forward with all their strength. While resisting the black and white beams of Doughty, and at the same time withstanding the attack of Death Scythe Jeton, Mechagodzilla, who was overwhelmed, was finally overturned and fell heavily into the nuclear wastewater lake behind. Its mechanical mouth cracked, and thick, pungent black smoke floated out of the nuclear wastewater lake, polluting a large area of air. Outside the field, countless creators and students screamed when they saw Mechagodzilla being severely damaged. Ha ha ha! What did I say? There are really variables in this year's provincial freshman test. The scoring system is determined according to the battle situation. To be honest, Bai-Ze's losses and kills are better than those of Goddess Tang. Could it be that our Tianzhou Academy finally has a chance to be the first this time? In the viewing room, Wang Tiangang and Zhao Jinzu of Sulin Academy also noticed the scene of Mechagodzilla being severely damaged. His face couldn't help but become solemn, and he silently remembered Bai-Ze in his heart. In Sulin province, they are all geniuses among geniuses. Ordinary people are not in their eyes. Even this year's Tianzhou Academy has been excluded from the competition list by them. Unexpectedly, a commoner genius suddenly emerged from Tianzhou Academy, an Unkovet Academy, and snatched away half of Tang Qingqing's glory. That was the demon-level figure that they regarded as their lifelong goal, the undefeated queen who was known as the leader of the new generation. Humph! What is there for people from Tianzhou Academy to be proud of? You must have forgotten that comparing scores is the job of losers. The rule of the simulated plane war is that if both sides win, then whoever wins faster is the real winner. Goddess Tang from Arsulan Academy is about to end the battle. As soon as these words came out, the atmosphere in the whole venue suddenly became solemn. It seemed to be true. The losers were ranked by scores, while the winners were ranked by the time they cleared the level. Look at Tang Qingqing's side, it seems to be over soon. At this moment, someone spoke immediately. The big screen next to Bai Zi was Tang Qingqing's world. Looking closely, the Dragon of Order was panting in the air, although it seemed to have consumed a lot. But on the ground, Mechagodzilla had only half of its body left. It fell to the ground, with waves of electricity passing through its body. The only bright scarlet eyeball was slowly fading. Roar, roar. The weak electromagnetic sound came slowly, and Tang Qingqing's pretty face was full of relief. Then she took a deep breath and gave the Dragon of Order an order. It's all over, give it the last blow. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Creation of the World, Binding God Simulator at the beginning. Author, Yefeng Feng. Chapter 63. The Dragon of Order opened its mouth, and a five-pointed star-shaped magic circle suddenly appeared, with a pure white light condensed in it. Then, under the gaze of everyone in the province, it fired at Mechagodzilla fiercely. In an instant, the steel was burned and the sound of being crushed exploded, and the broken limbs and corpses also flew out from the smoke. When the Dragon of Order stopped outputting, Mechagodzilla, which had long lost its vitality and was in a dilapidated state, was able to appear in front of everyone. In the end, it didn't even use self-destruction, and it was gone. Success, success, Goddess Tang succeeded. Mechagodzilla has lost its vitality, so that all creatures in the mechanical planet will die. In other words, Goddess Tang won, the first freshman in the province. Tang Qingcheng is the first freshman in the province, and the championship still belongs to my Sulan Academy. In the viewing room, the students of the same school of Sulan Academy jumped for joy. Not only them, at the moment when Mechagodzilla fell completely, the whole province was in a sensation for a while. The creators shouted and yelled, celebrating together. They were extremely excited. Only the students of Tianzhou Academy had an unusually cold atmosphere. There was no way, we could only say that Tang Qingcheng was too evil. Bai Zi was still in a confrontation, but she had easily defeated Mechagodzilla. The leader-level creature with god-level bloodline, the Dragon of Order, didn't even suffer much damage. Ha ha ha, Teacher Joe, did you see that? I've said it before, insects can't beat dragons. Even if Bai Zi from your Tianzhou Academy has high means and is smart, can he compare with the god-level bloodline? Can he compare with the leader-level Dragon of Order? In the end, he still lost to my Qing Cheng. Seeing the scene on the big screen, Teacher Zhou Qing also sighed silently and didn't reply. Bai Zi was already very good to have come this far. As long as he can defeat Mechagodzilla, he will be the second best freshman in the province, which will prevent Tianzhou Academy from being lonely. Unfortunately, if we want to blame someone, we can only blame Tang Qingcheng for being too evil. It is a sad and lamentable thing to meet her in this era. Huh, it's finally over. Looking down at the vast land, Tang Qingcheng's heart finally settled down. She waited quietly, waiting for the system's verdict. But after a while, everyone in the province calmed down a little, but the system's verdict still did not appear. What's going on? Tang Qingcheng has clearly defeated Mechagodzilla, why hasn't the verdict of victory appeared yet? Yes, could it be that Mechagodzilla is not dead yet? This is not right. The creators in each creation building were puzzled. Similarly, the teachers in the preparation room were also confused. The simulated war for this freshman test was done by Pound Craftsman. So the possibility of a bug in the system is almost zero. That is to say, if there is no bug in the system, there must be creatures on the planet that have not been killed. Pound Craftsman, what's going on? My Ching Cheng has clearly defeated that mechanical Godzilla, and all the creatures on the planet have died. Why haven't the results been announced yet? Is there something wrong with the system you created? As Tang Qingchen's mentor, Teacher Su was the first to ask Pound Craftsman. But when she turned her head and looked directly at Pound, she was surprised to find that the other party's expression was becoming more and more gloomy and hideous. He. It's not that the system has failed, but that the creatures have not completely died out, Pound laughed strangely. Hearing this, all the teachers in the preparation room were shocked. The creatures have not died out yet? The mechanical Godzilla is already a commander-level creature. Could it be that there are more powerful creatures than it? Suddenly, before they could figure it out, the world where Tang Qingcheng was on the screen was in a turbulence. Rumble. Rumble. Wait, why is the world where Qingcheng is starting to shake? What's going on? Teacher Su exclaimed, staring at the big screen in disbelief. The creators in the Genesis building also saw this scene, and some even exclaimed. Look! Look at Tang Qingcheng's world, it's shaking. The simulated war is not over yet, it seems something is coming out. On the other side, Tang Qingcheng, who was in the simulated war, was also confused. She looked around with her beautiful eyes and was horrified to find that with waves of shaking, buildings were collapsing and nuclear waste water in the sea was surging out. The scorched earth and yellow sand on the ground were gradually fading, and even the dust and particles that were originally in the air seemed to be sucked away by something, floating in one direction collectively. What's going on? Why hasn't the simulation ended yet? Tang Qingcheng said anxiously. She quickly issued an oracle, asking the few creatures to jump up and maintain the highest state of alert. Tang Qingcheng, who noticed something was wrong, was not idle either. She began to quickly pull the perspective. She wanted to see what other creatures existed on this planet that were missed. But when the perspective gradually shifted and zoomed in, Tang Qingcheng could no longer remain calm. Her originally calm eyes began to become stunned, terrified, and flustered, revealing a deep shock. In the outside world, seeing Tang Qingcheng's perspective through the big screen, some creators were so scared that they almost fell down, pointing their fingers at the big screen, and their bodies couldn't help shaking. What is that thing? A ball, a huge ball, the ball has become a creature. No. It should be said that this mechanical planet itself is a giant creature. Inside the screen, the entire mechanical planet was still shaking and tilting to one side. From Tang Qingcheng's perspective, the mechanical planet actually extended short hands and feet towards the universe. And underground, one missile launcher after another, laser launchers, all set up. Then, there was another strange electromagnetic sound, deafening and earth-shaking. In the preparation room, the teachers who saw the scene all had dull eyes. Teacher Su couldn't help swallowing his saliva, turned his head, and asked Pangda beside him in a daze. This is not the final trump card you mentioned, right? Hearing this, the other party's smile became more gloomy, and his whole body was shaking. Then he stood up excitedly, raised his hands and said, "That's right. This is the legendary perfect life form I created. It is also the final boss of this simulation, the Ender one. Window. Tabula equals window. Tabula. Tabula.push, mode, thumbs feed -01, container, tabula below article thumbnail -300x250, placement, below article thumbnail -300x250, target. Type, mix. Creation of the world, binding God simulator at the beginning. Author, Yefeng Feng. Chapter 64. Seeing this, The other teachers frowned, and Teacher Su couldn't help twitching. Pound Star Craftsman, you are going a little too far. This thing is already at the peak of the commander level, right? Plus its huge size, it can at least be on par with ordinary monarch level creatures. That level of creatures is simply not something these freshmen can fight against. You want to kill all the freshmen? Teacher Su turned her head and looked at Pound, who remained unmoved. With this look, she knew that she must be right. This creature comparable to the monarch level is undoubtedly an out-of-scope question. The purpose is to kill all the students here. Damn, no wonder this old man is so confident. On the other side, in Tang Qingqiang's world, while she was still confused, the sky suddenly turned red. She subconsciously thought it was dawn, and the light of sunrise fell on the earth. But when she looked up, Tang Qingqiang's pupils shrank and her face turned pale. That's not sunrise, that's missiles. There are so many missiles, at least 10,000 of them. They illuminate the sky, ignite the clouds, and illuminate the whole dark world. That's the afterglow of the world's destruction. Without time to think about it, Tang Qingqiang quickly issued an oracle, asking the few remaining flying dragons to spray fire and frost to form a defensive wall to defend against this wave of attacks. But in the face of absolute strength, everything they did was just overestimating their own abilities. The moment those missiles fell, the brilliance that burst out directly occupied the big screen showing Tang Qingqiang's world. Only a human-shaped outline of her was left, and it was also submerged in the afterglow. Gone, completely gone. How to fight a creature comparable to a planet? Even if it's Goddess Tang, she can't survive in such a powerful force. Can't she break the record in the end? The students outside the field were excited. They also showed deep reluctance to this sudden change. The creature, which is comparable to the size of a planet, exudes the aura of the peak of the commander level. This power is comparable to the monarch level. In the long history of Blue Star, no matter how talented and brilliant one is, who can defeat a creature comparable to the monarch level at this age? At least in their cognition, no one can do it, absolutely no one. Wait. Look at the screen again. Tang Qingqiang, it seems that it is not over yet. A voice came, and everyone got out of their low mood again. On the screen, when all the light dissipated, the ground was already bumpy, and one after another extremely wide craters appeared in front of everyone. Originally, the remaining number 100 flying dragons in Tang Qingqiang's hands had already disappeared at this time. Anyone can see that they should have been killed by the explosion. But surprisingly, there is still a huge figure that has not disappeared. Order Dragon. It's the Order Dragon, it's still alive. It's worthy of being the strongest creature in the hands of our goddess Tang. Under such a terrifying explosion, it actually survived. The audience outside the venue was happy, as if they saw hope again. At this moment, the Order Dragon still flapped its wings and flew in the air. But its breath was extremely low, its body was full of explosion wounds, and its wings were also riddled with holes. It can be seen that surviving the explosion has reached its own limit. Order Dragon, use Order Judgment and attack the ground. Tang Qingqiang gritted her silver teeth, she wanted to struggle again. After receiving the Order Dragon burst into adrenaline and flapped its wings desperately to fly upwards. It stretched out its claws and opened its big mouth. Suddenly, a five-pointed star-shaped star array condensed in front of it again, and the high-temperature white light gathered in the center, ready to go. Boom! Suddenly, before the Order Dragon made a move, several transparent lasers shot from the side and pierced its huge body immediately. With the last scream of the Order Dragon, the battle slowly ended. The faces of the people outside the field were stiff, and the little joy that had remained had long since disappeared. Ding, Tang Qingqiang, a freshman at Sulan Academy, ended the simulated war. Tang Qingqiang's creatures were judged to be dead, and the simulated plane war failed. Through comprehensive data, the system gave an authoritative judgment score, S level. The S level score directly surpassed Zhao Jinzhu and Wang Tiangang by 2 small levels. Alas, although Goddess Tang lost in the end, this score has also truly refreshed the historical record of our Sulan province's freshman simulated war. That's right, after all, it's a creature comparable to the monarch level, and it's not a loss if it loses, it's not a loss if it loses. In the spectator seats, the students shook their heads and comforted themselves. But a moment later, Tang Qingchen walked out of the teleportation entrance with a little reluctance. She lowered her head and sighed silently. But when she looked up, she found that the students around her were not paying attention to her position, but were still staring at the big screen. It's already this late, is there anyone who hasn't finished the simulated war? Tang Qingchen looked puzzled. Not far away, when Tang Qingchen came out, a girl from the same school as her ran over. "Qingchen, come out." She greeted Tang Qingchen warmly, and when she got closer to Tang Qingchen, the other party immediately asked back. "Zyro, what's going on? Is it possible that there are still people who haven't ended the simulated war now?" During the simulation process, individuals have feelings. Tang Qingchen knew clearly that his march was relatively stable and he had reached the final finisher. The duration of simulation should be the latest among freshmen in the province. The girl opposite frowned, thought for a moment, and immediately replied, "Yes. Qingchen, you don't know that Tianzhou Academy has produced a potential player this year. Now in the whole province, he is the only new student who is still fighting a dimensional war. Please watch it on the big screen." The girl pointed at the big screen hanging on the ceiling. Following her line of sight, Tang Qingchen observed Bai Ziyi's world for the first time. Tang Qingchen was deeply shocked when he saw Mechagodzilla, who was severely injured and unable to stand up, and Bai Ziyi's army of nearly 1,000 men. There are actually students with such potential in this class of Tianzhou Academy. In the past, Tianzhou Academy was always beaten by Sulan Academy. This is something everyone knows. Unexpectedly, this time, such a character would appear. Mechagodzilla, who even Zhao Jinzhu and Wang Tiangang could not injure, was severely injured by him. Creation of the World, Binding God Simulator at the beginning. Author, Yefeng Feng. Chapter 65. At the same time, in Bai Ziyi's world. Seeing Mechagodzilla fall into the nuclear wastewater, he was also very happy. Seizing the opportunity, Bai Ziyi immediately ordered all creatures to attack again. There are still 1,000 creatures left. As long as we prevent it from self-destructing, we will be safe this time. Bai Ziyi opened the eyes of God and continued to scan Mechagodzilla's body. Self-destruction cannot happen out of thin air. There must be some device in its body. As long as it can be destroyed, the self-destruction can be prevented. Through Mechagodzilla, the mechanical gears inside the cut body are clearly visible. In an instant, the red tip of the iceberg flashed in front of Bai Ziyi's eyes. "It's in the abdomen," Bai Ziyi pointed out immediately. It passed this news to the creatures on the ground at the fastest speed. Upon hearing this, the latter quickly organized and came up with an excellent way. Although Gatenja's petrifying light could not petrify its hard outer armor, the device inside Mechagodzilla was extremely fragile. As long as we can gut it and petrify the explosive device remotely, we can avoid its explosion. Let's do it. Dowdy took the lead and led the team forward. Skywing Tigers, follow me to entangle that iron guy. Give the main force enough time. In the air, the Dapen tribe also came to help, and neither tribe could cause any substantial damage to Mechagodzilla. So we can only use this method to create an opportunity for Death Scythe Jeton to make it take action and cut Mechagodzilla. Roar. At this time, Mechagodzilla had just staggered out of the lake, and was entangled by a group of creatures rushing over. Because the muzzle in its mouth was destroyed, it had long lost the ability to release its strongest trick, Proton Scream. It could only barely open the missiles on both sides to blow down a small group of creatures. So, the ghostly figure of Death Scythe Jeton attacked again. Under the eyes of everyone in the province, a pair of light blades wrapped in yellow light suddenly pierced into Mechagodzilla's body. Then it started from its chest and moved madly downwards. Roar! Feeling threatened, Mechagodzilla raised the electric drill tail behind him and wanted to fight back. But the meteor bugs led by the Emperor of the Universe were not vegetarians either. Relying on their hard heavy armor, they surrounded Mechagodzilla's tail, making it unable to move, giving Death Scythe Jeton enough operation time. Then, what is that monster doing? It's actually ripping open Mechagodzilla's belly. What is this operation? What does Bai-Ze want to do? The students in the viewing room were puzzled, including Tang Ching-Cheng, who walked to the end, who was in the same state. On the contrary, the only person who created this planet, Pound Star Craftsman, saw this scene and his eyes were straight. How could he not know that Mechagodzilla had a self-destruct system and where this system was installed? But Bai-Ze was a student. How did he know? Look! Something seems to be exposed in the belly of Mechagodzilla. What is that red thing? Is it a detonator? Accompanied by the student's horrified eyes, the Death Scythe Jeton has successfully cut open Mechagodzilla's belly. Then, without waiting for Bai-Ze's order, Gatenja, who had been lurking in the water for a long time, suddenly jumped up. Its strange eyes released beams of light, and a burst of purple energy suddenly spurted out. It hit Mechagodzilla's body head-on, and the red device that was still shining was completely petrified by it. Beautiful! Bai-Ze was delighted. He didn't expect the plan to succeed so easily. This is stable. Without the proton scream and the self-destruct system, Mechagodzilla is just a standing target. It will be killed sooner or later. Bai-Ze, who felt that he had won, smiled silently. But just when he looked comfortable and his eyes rolled casually, he suddenly found something strange. What's going on? Why is there a place that is a little different? Outside the screen, everyone could not know Bai-Ze's perspective. In Bai-Ze's eyes, the entire golden world, but not far away, appeared a piece of red covering half of Tianxia City. Red represents weakness. Only creatures will have such a thing, but how can it appear on the surface of the planet? System, is there a bug in your eye of God? Why do I see a large pool of red? Soon, the system gave an answer. Ding, the eye of God can detect the weaknesses of various creatures and assist the host in combat, without any bugs. In this sentence, Bai-Ze emphasized the word creature. No way, since there is no bug, then you mean that there is still a creature in the place marked in red over there. Bai-Ze frowned. Indeed, he was conscious in the last round of simulation. After Mechagodzilla and his creatures died together, the system still judged itself as a failure. In other words, there is a high probability that there is still one or more life forms on this planet that have not been destroyed. Could it be? Ding, just as the host thought. The system gave an answer immediately. Instantly, Bai-Ze's face turned pale. Could it be that such a large red plate is all the weaknesses of the hidden creature? If the weakness is so huge, what does its body look like? Or rather, Bai-Ze suddenly thought of something, and he began to quickly expand his view until he reached a position overlooking the two balls. Instantly, Bai-Ze's eyes began to change, first doubt at the beginning, then turned into surprise and panic, and finally calmed down a little. It's really like this. Bai-Ze spoke a little vaguely. But then, he took a deep breath and quickly adjusted his state. His eyes also became gradually solemn, and he secretly made up his mind. Since this is the case, let's fight quickly. The oracle descended, and the creatures all felt the sudden seriousness in Bai-Ze's tone. Simply no longer waiting, Dowdy summoned the Skywing Tigers, condensed a black and white destructive beam, and cooperated with the arc light slash of the Death Scythe Jeton, and continuously hit Mechagodzilla. After a while, Mechagodzilla had already reached the end of the road, and even the self-destruction device was petrified. It could only rely on a pair of iron hands to barely support it. Seeing this, the creators outside the field noticed something. It's a self-destruct device. There's actually a self-destruct device hidden inside that Mechagodzilla. The one that was petrified is the self-destruct device. It turns out that everything Bai-Ze did before was for this. But how did he detect it? Could it be that he relied on his reconnaissance ability? If it's really what they guessed, it's too scary. At such a young age, he has such reconnaissance ability and can see through what's hidden behind the incident. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Creation of the World, Binding God Simulator at the beginning. Author, Yefeng Feng. Chapter 66. As he was surprised, with an explosion that resounded through the sky, Mechagodzilla's defense had been completely broken. Then, countless mechanical gears, parts, screws, and steel plates were ejected from the smoke of the explosion. The people outside were staring at the big screen with bloodshot eyes, wanting to see what happened to Mechagodzilla. Until the smoke and dust were all dispersed, a pool of iron blocks with thousands of holes and blown into a ball appeared in front of everyone. Dead. Mechagodzilla is dead. Bai-Ze defeated it. Great, Bai-Ze defeated Mechagodzilla, which means that his current performance has surpassed Zhao Jinzu and Wang Tiangang of Sulan Academy, and his lowest ranking is second in the province. With the remaining 700 or 800 creatures, maybe next, there will be a chance to compete with Tang Qing Cheng. Tianzhou Academy was bustling, and Xia Yunyu was also happy for Bai-Ze. However, the students no longer cared about the outcome of this simulated war. After all, which freshman can defeat a creature comparable to the monarch level? What they care about most is whether Bai-Ze has a chance to surpass Tang Qing Cheng and get that impossible ranking. In such a scene, Teacher Su in the preparation room was a little panicked. How could she expect that after the defeat of Mechagodzilla, Bai-Ze still had so many creatures in his hands, 7 or 8 times more than her own precious students? Teacher Su, our Bai-Ze still has 700 or 800 creatures in his hands. This time, your first place in Sulan Academy may not be guaranteed. Teacher Zhou Qing crossed his legs and couldn't help but mocking. Teacher Su, who was speechless, looked a little aggrieved. I had to force myself to say, no one can predict this kind of thing. Bai-Ze in your academy does not have a commander-level creature. Facing the next Terminator, it is still a question whether we can survive the first round of explosions with some soldiers. What's more, even if we win Qing Cheng, what can we do? We still can't win the simulated war. At the end, her voice became softer and softer, and it was obvious that she was not confident enough. In this regard, Teacher Zhou Qing did not want to argue. The result is the best way to prove it. Boom. Boom. At the same time, not long after Mechagodzilla fell, the planet where Bai-Ze was located suddenly began to tremble. The system's notification sound did not appear, which means that the previous investigation was correct. There are indeed other creatures hidden in this planet. The simulation is not over. Bai-Ze murmured. He took action quickly and issued orders to the creatures below. The remaining races fly to the sky and be ready for battle at any time. Daipen clan, pick up the Shui Huan clan as well. At the command, the creatures that received the order began to move quickly. After a while, the neatly arranged 700 or 800 creatures were all entrenched in the sky. Looking down at the vast land, a shocking scene appeared. The entire mechanical planet swayed and tilted left and right. Not far away, an arm and ankle that looked extremely huge up close rushed out from the ground. The yellow sand and dust covering the ground gradually faded, revealing the shiny iron sheet, which seemed indestructible. Afterwards, countless missile launchers and laser launchers extended from the ground one after another. The changes in the world before his eyes, even Bai-Zi, who had noticed it in advance, could not help but be shocked. A planet, a whole planet, is actually full of creatures. Haha, I guessed it right. But the person who asked the question must be a lunatic. The whole planet is a creature. I'm afraid he didn't want the students to pass the test from the beginning, Bai-Zi said solemnly. Seeing the appearance of the final boss, the Ender, on Bai-Zi's side, Pangda couldn't close his mouth. Two teachers, the simulation is about to end. I will accept your 20 million. He stretched out a pair of rough hands and was about to touch the two federal cards on the table. Teacher Su didn't say anything, but Teacher Zhou Qing immediately held him down. Don't be anxious, Pang Dexing-jiang, it's not the end yet. Why not wait until the end, when Bai-Zi loses completely, and then it's not too late, Teacher Zhou said with a smile. Until now, she still holds a trace of unrealistic fantasy. But even Tang Qingqing's commander-level creatures were instantly destroyed. Does Bai-Zi really have a chance to win? Perhaps she knows the answer better than anyone else, but she still wants to struggle. Okay, then let the two of you lose clearly. Pound Star Craftsman took his hand away, and the smile on his face became more and more intense, as if he was sure to win. The students outside the field and the major creators also had their heartbeats accelerated and their breathing became rapid, unable to contain their excitement. Especially Tang Qingqiang, who had fought against the Ender, had a deep fear in her eyes. She wanted to see how Bai-Zi would fight against the monster that could kill her Order Dragon in seconds. Look in the sky, it's missiles are coming. Oh my! There are nearly 10,000 missiles again, just like the time when Goddess Tang, how should Bai-Zi defend? Suddenly, someone pointed at the big screen and shouted. At first glance, the mechanical planet was gradually getting darker in the distance, and missiles covered the sky and flew towards Bai-Zi. The situation was almost exactly the same as that of Tang Qingqiang. Ding, the Eye of God has completed the detection of the creature. Name of the creature, Ender number 1. Creature level, peak of the commander level. Real strength, comparable to the monarch level creature. Grand Mali, this ball is at the peak of the commander level, and its real strength is comparable to the monarch level. Bai-Zi just used the skill of the Eye of God, which can simply scan the basic values of the creature. Knowing its terrifying strength, Bai-Zi had no time to think about it. He immediately mobilized all the meteor bugs and unfolded their hard shell armor to resist the missile bombing for the large army. In an instant, the moment the missile fell, the world was filled with smoke and the wind was raging. All the explosions seemed to form a chain, and the raging fire was about to submerge the entire mechanical planet. The clouds were torn apart, and everything around was flattened. Everyone in the province held their breath and stared at the screen in a daze. When Tang Qingqiang encountered this explosion before, all creatures were destroyed. The only surviving dragon of order was also in a half-dead state. Bai-Zi did not have a creature as strong as the dragon of order. Would the whole army be wiped out in an instant? In the smoke, something seems to have appeared in the smoke. After a while, someone exclaimed. The dust and smoke raised by the explosion dissipated little by little, and hundreds of tall figures emerged from it. The meteorite bugs in the front row that resisted the explosion fell one by one, their bodies covered with blast wounds and burns, and almost all of them were destroyed. In order to protect the army, the Cosmic Insect Emperor was also severely injured and lay on the ground dying. However, the three tribes protected behind him actually survived. Creation of the World, Binding God Simulator at the beginning. Author, Yefeng Feng. Chapter 67. It is worthy of the power comparable to the monarch level. The power of this missile is really extraordinary. Bai-Zi said with great difficulty. His meteorite bug is a creature that evolved twice from the longhorn beetle. Its defense is even more remarkable. But under this large-scale bombing, the entire army was wiped out, and even the universe insect emperor was dying. Tianxia City, that's right. All troops, immediately launch an attack on the ground of Tianxia City. Seizing the gap of the opponent's attack, Bai Zi sent down an oracle. It was observed before that the ground of Tianxia City is the weakness of this behemoth. Seizing the weakness and attacking will definitely cause damage to it. Bai Zi's creatures are not all dead. Could it be that the defense of these bugs is stronger than the flying dragon of Goddess Tang? Don't worry about this for now. Look at the location of Tianxia City. Those creatures attacked. The generals under his command were killed, and the dead Sickle Jeton felt angry. Led by it, the three tribes quickly rushed to the sky above Tianxia City. Without waiting for Bai Zi to say anything, Death Scythe Jeton showed his double sickles without hesitation and smashed them hard on the ground. In an instant, the hard iron sheet was really broken into two holes. It seemed that the Terminator felt threatened, and the whole planet shook wildly. In the sky on one side, hundreds of transparent lasers and bullets flew down, landing on Tianxia City. Roar! Skywing tigers, all follow me to block these attacks and create opportunities for them. Dowdy roared, and it set an example by standing up first and hitting the laser with its flesh. Gatenja and the Sea King clan were not willing to lag behind. Taking advantage of this opportunity, Kun Peng and Death Scythe Jeton joined forces, and white and yellow beams of light hit the ground one after another. Beside them, the fall of each Skywing Tiger and Sea King made their attack frequency faster. In the end, large pieces of iron parts were blown out, and a deep trench was actually opened by the two creatures. Injured. Bai Zi really caused damage to the creature, and the other party is already injured. No way, such a hard armor can be broken by Bai Zi. Could it be that he really has the ability to fight it? Seeing that the ender was temporarily suppressed, the students outside the field ignited hope, especially the Tianzhou Academy. But the teachers in the preparation room were still frowning. How could they not know that this was just the activation of the ender and had not yet exerted their full strength? No, this is only the first round of attack, and there are already so many casualties. Sure enough, a creature at the peak of the commander level cannot be defeated by a freshman. The other teachers said, shaking their heads, feeling sorry for this. Pound Star Craftsman stroked his sexy mustache, blinked his mouth twice and said, "Okay, it's all over." As soon as this was said, Bai Zi's side immediately changed from joy to tragedy. He clearly saw that in the distance, on a small hill made of metal, a huge cannon several hundred meters high slowly rose up. The muzzle turned and aimed directly at the creatures on his side. That is. Bai Zi paused, his pupils shrank violently, and he hurriedly said, "Get out of the way. Quick, get out of the way." Bai Zi waved his hand and issued an order with the highest oracle. Unfortunately, it was too late. The energy accumulated in the huge muzzle was fired at a speed invisible to the naked eye. The scale was so large and wide that the creatures had no place to hide. Dowdy was quick-witted. It opened the black hole in front of it and tried its best to resist the cannon at the cost of itself. Unfortunately, in the face of absolute power, everything seemed so pale and powerless. The manic energy approached the army, and Dowdy ran out of energy and was submerged in the surging beam. Although the surrounding creatures had retreated far away, the residual power brought by the explosion almost covered the entire Tianxia City, and no place was intact. The sandstorm hit, rolling up beams of light that shot up into the sky, as if to shoot through the gray sun in the sky. When everything slowly calmed down, Dowdy had long disappeared. All the creatures under Bai Zi's hands also fell to the ground, dead, injured, and disabled. Death Scythe Jeton tried to use the sickle to support his body and climb up, but the severe pain from his body made it unable to move at all. Tsitsizizizi. In the mechanical planet, a burst of electromagnetic sound came, as if mocking the incompetence of these creatures and criticizing Bai-Ze's weakness. At this point, the whole venue was dead silent. It was obvious that Bai-Ze had reached the end of the road. Bai-Ze, can you hear it? Suddenly, at this moment, a voice poured into the mechanical planet. Is it Teacher Joe's voice? Bai-Ze reacted immediately. Outside, Teacher Joe Ching was standing at the front of the preparation room. She was holding a microphone-like transmitter in her hand and was talking to Bai-Ze. Bai-Ze, that's enough. You've done a great job. Give up. You've already caused damage to the Ender. With this result, it's no problem to defeat Tang Ching Cheng. Give up now. It's the best result. It can also prevent your creatures from having psychological trauma and affecting their future development. Listening to Teacher Joe Ching's serious words, Teacher Su, who was sitting below, looked unhappy, but didn't say anything. One move of Skyfall destroyed 20,000 troops, and the speed of war was extremely important, destroying 10 central nervous systems. He perfectly suppressed Mechagodzilla again, and even caused damage to the last Terminator. Although he didn't want to admit it, Bai-Ze had indeed suppressed Tang Ching Cheng. Are you giving up? Bai-Ze looked at the creatures that collapsed below, and his face was a little ugly. Teacher Joe, there is only one chance, I want to try again. Bai-Ze gave a cautious answer. On the other side, Teacher Joe Ching, who was passing the message, began to get anxious. Bai-Ze, you don't have to force yourself. This Terminator is a creature at the peak of the commander level, and its huge size is comparable to that of a monarch level creature. You can't defeat it even if you exhaust all your means. And its appearance is undoubtedly an out-of-scope question. If you can defeat Mechagodzilla, you have actually won. There is really no need. Teacher Joe Ching stopped talking before he finished. To be precise, it was Bai-Ze who took the initiative to ask the system to cut off the connection. He lowered his head and said nothing, his face slightly gloomy. Outside the field, the whole province quieted down, and they all broke into a cold sweat for Bai-Ze. But suddenly, the picture turned, and some sharp-eyed students suddenly discovered something. Wait, something is wrong. You look over there, Bai-Ze's planet. His planet seems to be invaded by a green thing, and it is almost filled up. What is that? A shocking roar came, and the eyes of everyone in the province were attracted at this moment. In an instant, the voice of the system kept ringing in my ears. Warning! 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 The host planet is overdeveloped, and the plants are seriously overlimited, and the plants are seriously overlimited. Creation of the World, Binding God Simulator at the Beginning. Author, Yefeng Feng. Chapter 68. At this time, Bai-Ze's mouth corners quietly rose. An enemy that can't be defeated at all. I don't understand. As he said, Bai-Ze had already raised his head, his face full of confidence. Once the spiritual energy revival develops to the extreme, the plants will flood the entire planet and extend to the universe, launching indiscriminate attacks. That is to say, not only my creatures, but you will also be attacked, right? The spiritual energy revival is the last trump card left by Bai-Ze. It is precisely because this is a simulated war that nothing will happen even if the planet is blown up, so he dared to make such a bold move. But he didn't expect that it would really come in handy in the end. In the outside world, groups of creators and students are already dancing and jumping up and down. It's plants. Those green things are all plants. But, how could so many plants suddenly appear in Bai-Ze's world? Just now, their attention was all drawn to the place where the two armies of the mechanical planet fought. I didn't notice that the plants on Bai-Ze's planet were growing wildly. Now that I came to my senses, I realized that they were almost filling up the entire planet. No, you're focusing on the wrong thing. The most important thing shouldn't be why these plants can break through the world wall and rush into the universe. Aren't they afraid of cosmic radiation? Moreover, these lush plants are actually moving towards the ender. Watching by Ze's world, the creators in the creation building in various urban areas of Sulan province, and the tens of thousands of students who were eliminated, all widened their eyes, fearing that they would miss a bit of excitement. The same was true for the teachers in the preparation room, and many of them stood up directly in excitement. Pang Dexingjiang was even more confused, and his mouth immediately opened into an O shape. What's wrong with those plants? Bai Ze's planet is filled up, and the creatures are actually squeezed to death by them. Those plants seem to attack indiscriminately, they are attacking the ender. The big screens across the province were turned up to the maximum, and the competition between the two balls was watched from the macro perspective of the universe. Countless vines, branches, and wooden strips emerged from Bai Ze's planet and rushed towards the mechanical planet frantically. The latter sensed that something was wrong, and tens of thousands of missiles were fired at the plants. But it was useless, not at all. What the hell are those plants? They have such a terrifying recovery ability. They were hit by missiles and were clearly broken, but they grew back in the next second, and they grew dozens of times in a row. How did they do it? They can't be blown up, they can't be blown up at all. Could it be that Bai Ze did all this? The classmates were so shocked that their teeth were trembling, and their eyes were full of fanaticism. The plants continued to move forward. The spiritual energy was revived 10,000 times, and the opponent's destruction speed was far slower than the speed of the plant's rebirth. So that in the end, the plants extended to its side, wrapped the ender in circles, and entangled it tightly. Bai Ze looked at the plants covering the sky, and his smile became more and more intense. The ultimate destruction under the revived spiritual energy 10,000 times was also his last fight with all the power of the world, and he would never allow failure. Outside the field, Pound could clearly see that these plants were Bai Ze's masterpieces. He looked unkind, gritted his teeth and said, "You are taking shortcuts. I'm afraid this method is not enough to control my Terminator." In one sentence, all the systems of the Terminator, which was as huge as a planet, were completely activated and fired at full power. Countless missiles, laser rain, shells, and beams were emitted from the planet, comparable to the glory of the world, destroying those plants wantonly. The power was so great that the whole world turned red and green, and the raging fire could even illuminate the starry sky, which was magnificent. However, under the revival of spiritual energy 10,000 times, the growth rate was too fast. The surging plants would not stop, and the plants all over the sky also covered the sky, swallowed the sun and the moon, and drilled into the mechanical planet. It tightly entangled it, making the entire planet unable to move. Even if it was fully fired, it would be useless in the end. Ha, ha ha ha. At this time, teacher Zhou Qing couldn't stop laughing. She turned her view and looked at Pound on the side, her face full of relief. "How is it, Pound Starcraft? I told you, no one knows who will win or lose until the last moment. These plants covering the two balls are all Bai Ze's masterpieces. Your Terminator has been entangled. This time, the overall situation is determined." Seeing this, Pound was anxious. He jumped up and rushed to the front of the big screen. It was discovered that the plants were still increasing, and the binding force was getting stronger and stronger. The entire mechanical shell of the Terminator was squeezed and cracked, and sooner or later there was a risk of being compressed and exploded. Humph. Teacher Zhou Qing, you have to know that the students' creatures are also in the mechanical planet. If the mechanical planet is gone, they can't survive, and they still can't win. At most, they will perish together. Speaking of this, teacher Zhou Qing shook his head calmly. Pound Star Craftsman, are you too anxious and have you forgotten something? The rules of the simulated battle are that whichever side's creatures die first will be judged as the loser. If the Ender dies before the Bai-Ze creatures, Bai-Ze will win. Teacher Zhou Qing said bluntly. Outside, cheers, leaps, roars. The creators of all cities and districts in the province are singing and shocked. Because the final big boss is about to be defeated, the undefeated legend of Sulan province will be completely broken today. And they will be the final witnesses. Impossible, Pang Dexingjiang immediately retorted. The planet I made cannot be defeated by the newborn, I don't believe it. He waved his hand, his face full of unwillingness. Then he looked at the two balls again, his face gloomy and said, isn't this kid going to die together? Okay. I'll help him. It just so happens that I have left the last trump card in the mechanical planet. Then the legendary self-destruct system. The loud voice sounded, and all the teachers in the preparation room were collectively silent. Teacher Zhou Qing's face changed rapidly, and his eyes looking at Pang De were full of surprise. Self-destruct device? A peak commander level creature comparable to a monarch level creature actually has a self-destruct device installed on him. Is this Pang Dexingjiang crazy? It's just a freshman test, is it necessary to be like this? Moreover, the trigger mechanism of the self-destruct device is that when the Terminator is injured and life-threatening, it will explode directly. Everything around it will be destroyed. Pangda's mental state at this time is a bit crazy, and he looks particularly excited. There is no doubt that a self-destruction comparable to a monarch-level creature is likely to reach the full force of the middle or even high-level monarch level. Under such an explosion, Bai-Ze's creatures can't survive at all. Is it possible that in the end, it can only end in a draw? Teacher Zhou Qing is a little unwilling, and so is Bai-Ze. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Creation of the World, Binding God Simulator at the beginning. Author, Yefeng Feng. Chapter 69. Look, why is there a red light flashing on the body of the Terminator? That thing seems a bit like a self-destruct system. How is it possible? Such a terrifying monster actually has a self-destruct device hidden on it. Is it going to let people live? The students outside the venue were in disbelief. At this time, Tang Qingcheng also came out, and confirmed with a frown, it can't be wrong. The place where the red light flashes should be stored with a huge self-destruct device. As the eldest daughter of the Tang family, Tang Qingcheng has been knowledgeable since she was a child. She has also heard of this kind of explosive device. As for why Tang Qingcheng failed to find the self-destruct system on Mechagodzilla, it was because the Dragon of Order in her hand was too strong. She didn't even give Mechagodzilla a chance to show its self-destruct system, and killed it instantly. However, this sentence caused an uproar in the audience, and the students' faces turned pale. Even Miss Tang said that this is a self-destruct system, so it should be correct. Damn it! If this monster is really allowed to self-destruct, then both will perish and there will be no victory. The classmates also felt sorry for Bai-Ze, who had finally come to this point. Layer by layer, steady and steady, the sudden tide of plants almost broke the undefeated legend of Sulan province that had never been broken for so many years. Is it going to end so hastily? On the other side, the scarlet flash continued to expand within the planet, and Bai-Ze also realized the problem. There is actually a self-destruct system hidden in the body of this end. The heart of this questioner is really cruel, Bai-Ze frowned. At the same time, the remaining creatures on the body of the end began to desperately try to get up. They kept trying and constantly breaking through the limits of their bodies. However, in the end, the creatures were exhausted one after another and fell down one after another. Gaitenja and Kunpeng also tried all methods, but still couldn't get up. Looking at the plants spreading to the mechanical planet, their faces were full of ashes, and their eyes were filled with despair. Only the highest level Death Scythe Jeton was still resolutely choosing to persist. After falling down once, it stood up again. With its tenacious perseverance, the heat immediately swept through its body, and Death Scythe Jeton felt full of strength. The terrifying momentum that rushed out made its outer armor more splendid and became extremely powerful. Bai-Ze could see at a glance that it was the same as the previous round of simulation. Death Scythe Jeton was relying on his perseverance to break through on the battlefield. Look at Bai-Ze's humanoid insect monster, its skin has become red, and it is accompanied by bursts of light. This is a sign of breaking through the commander level. Commander level? You mean, Bai-Ze's creatures are going to break through the commander level, so does that mean there is a chance of survival? The dawn of hope came again, and the whole province was noisy. Finally, under the anxious gaze of countless creators, Hyperjeton was wrapped in white light, and the majestic power gathered in his body, producing an advancement beyond cognition. At the same time, the Ender also reached its endurance limit, and the self-destruction system was officially activated. Pound raised his hands excitedly and said frantically, "It's over. It's all over. The explosion will destroy everything, so let's fight to the death." Gradually, a little light gradually spread inside the Ender, and the explosion was imminent at this moment. The hard iron shell began to break, and dazzling flames gushed out from the inside. The earth fissioned, the tsunami surged, the sky fell, and the entire mechanical planet presented a doomsday scene. The outside world was accompanied by a burst of light beyond the limit, and the mechanical planet was completely shattered. In an instant, the explosion, the high temperature of up to hundreds of millions of degrees Celsius, burned all the plants around it. The spreading residual power temporarily illuminated the entire dark and boundless universe for a few seconds. The shining Milky Way was even more eclipsed in front of it. Bai-Ze's planet, which was occupied by plants, was the closest to the Ender. The light waves of the explosion destroyed the planet, causing it to collapse in an instant, with mountains collapsing and the ground cracking. It did not give the spiritual energy time to revive and regenerate, and it disappeared in the vast sea of stars. The light lasted for a long time, and the world returned to its original chaos, and the silence was terrifying. The creators, students, and teachers who were watching the battle all widened their eyes and showed dull expressions. The end is over. With an explosion of this level, even Bai-Ze's planet was destroyed, and it is impossible for any living creatures to survive. Alas, it seems that this is the only way to go. Everyone in the province reacted, shook their heads, and felt distressed. Teacher Zhou Qing sighed softly, and sat back in his seat with a little disappointment. However, after a while, the sound of the system announcing the results was heard on the big screens across the province. Ding, Tianzhou Academy, this year's freshman Bai-Ze, the simulated battle is over. Based on the above comprehensive data, the system gives an authoritative judgment score. The result of this simulation is ding. It is determined that one side of the creatures is dead. The winner of the simulation is the freshman of Tianzhou Academy, Bai-Ze. The last sentence is played repeatedly and resounds throughout the province. The creator of everything, classmates, and teachers trembled all over, and the feeling of loss was swept away, and they showed extremely shocked expressions. Some students were even excited to jump up, and their eyes were excited and said, "What's going on? Why is Bai-Ze's simulation score a string of garbled characters, and didn't the explosion just now flatten everything? It should be a draw, right? How could Bai-Ze win? Could it be that there is a bug in the system?" After asking this question, the students became more suspicious. Suddenly, one classmate seemed to have noticed something. He couldn't help shaking his body, and pointed his finger at the screen, with a look of surprise on his face. "No. No. Over there, look at the big screen. There seems to be a black spot in the upper right corner of the universe. What is that?" Following his line of sight, everyone really noticed that tiny point in the universe. In the preparation room, Pound was also stunned when he heard that the system announced not a draw, but ByZe's victory. He slammed the table, stood up and ordered, "Zoom in. Zoom in quickly. What on earth is that?" According to the order, the big screens in the province began to zoom in towards that point at this moment. Seeing this, countless creators' pupils shrank, holding their breath, not daring to breathe, and the world suddenly became quiet. At the same time, as the electronic screen zoomed in little by little, a strange electromagnetic sound echoed in the universe. Beep 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 Zidun. Creation of the World, Binding God Simulator at the Beginning. Author, Yefeng Feng. Chapter 70. In an instant, the whole place burst into flames. Holy shit. It's that huge humanoid insect, and it's actually still alive. And broke through the commander level. The aura in the whole body is even slightly higher than the Dragon of Order. Wait. I understand the truth, but why can it survive in the universe? Can't living things be able to breathe in the universe? Even cosmic radiation can't hurt it? At this time, the students were so shocked that they stuttered and even their tone of voice had a trembling tone. Theoretically speaking, only creatures at the lowest leadership level can enter the universe. After all, you cannot breathe in the universe, and the powerful cosmic radiation is even more scorching. Ordinary creatures will be burned into ashes just by stepping out of the world wall. Even Tang Qingqing's Dragon of Order cannot walk into the universe. Don't worry about why, ByZe has won now. Does this mean that he completely defeated everyone and is the #1 freshman in our Surin province? Some students from Tianzhou Academy stood up and said excitedly. Everyone in Sulin Academy was startled, and their expressions turned ugly. Only a few potential players like Tang Qingcheng and Zhao Jinzu were relatively excited. As if he had found his opponent, his whole body was full of energy. In addition, among the many teachers, Pangda looked exhausted and immediately fell down without stopping. How is this possible? This humanoid bug actually ran into the universe to avoid the self-destruction of the Terminator. Incredible, really incredible. After all calculations, Pangda never expected that ByZe would have a creature on his hands that could enter the universe. The rest of his creatures disappeared in the afterglow of the explosion. Only Hypashton relied on this ability to escape into the universe and survived. ByZe's series of operations simply refreshed Pound's understanding of new life. Alas. Pangda sighed deeply and said helplessly, "That's all, I'm getting old too. It's time to retire. It's not a bad thing to end it here after this failure." Pound got up, shook his head and turned around, walked towards the exit, and finally left sadly. The remaining teachers were either surprised or pleasantly surprised. Teacher Zhou Qing could not help but raise the corners of his mouth, and his heart was filled with excitement. At such a young age, his skills and strategies are so high. Destroy thousands of armies, destroy the center, fight giant beasts, and finally win with a unique move, full of highlights. It seems that this session is destined to be extraordinary. Teachers from various major schools sighed, looking at ByZe on the screen, their eyes full of envy. I wish I could snatch him away and become my student. Teacher Sue's expression was hesitant. She was extremely horrified by this result, and her mouth couldn't help but open wide. At this time, when the big screen was turned on, countless creators across the province were singing and shouting ByZe's name. Various companies and the screen in the building also reported about Bay's winning first place in the province. There are many forces that have secretly mobilized connections and can't wait to contact ByZe, make friends with him, or even recruit him. Surin province is in full swing and the crowds are buzzing, as if they are worshipping the birth of the new king, crowning him, and wearing the supreme crown. Teacher Zhou Qing couldn't sit still any longer. She immediately stood up and headed to the observation room where the students were. She was going to meet Bai Zi and welcome the new king who had created miracles, the warrior who had won honor for Tianzhou Academy. But before leaving, teacher Zhou Qing suddenly remembered something again. She chuckled and turned her head to look at teacher Su behind her, who had a dull look on her face. Teacher Su, I think you should have seen the final outcome. What I want to tell you is that sometimes, insects may not be unable to defeat dragons. After saying this, teacher Zhou Qing turned around domineeringly, leaving only teacher Su who was filled with shame and anger. He couldn't express his pain and could only break his teeth and swallow it in his stomach. At the same time, Bai Zi, who had finished the simulation, finally walked out of the teleportation entrance. It's okay if it doesn't come out, but once it comes out, it's amazing. All the students gathered around. Classmate Bai Zi, I have become a fan of you, and you will be my belief from now on. Classmate Bai Zi, do you still remember me? I am Qiwa who used to live next door to your house. When you were a child, you even said you wanted to marry someone else. Get out of the way, you Qiwa, I am still like a flower, don't get close to my big brother. What's your eldest brother? That's obviously my eldest brother. For a moment, Bai Zi was surrounded by people. He was squeezed in the middle and felt his breathing quicken, almost suffocating. Wait. At this moment, a cold little hand from the crowd stretched out, grabbed Bai Zi, and pulled him out with all his strength. Then he took Bai Zi and trotted away from this group of people. Ho, slow down. After they were almost out of the siege, the two of them were able to stop. Looking up, Xia Yunyu was looking at her with a smile on her face. Yunyu, are you out too? Bai Zi said. Xia Yunyu pursed her lips and said with a smile, Humph, aren't you talking nonsense? Who else could come out later than you? You think so, Grand Champion? Hearing this, Bai Zi's face was full of bitter smiles. Luck. It's just good luck, not worth mentioning, Bai Zi said casually. Xia Yunyu listened to him and raised her eyebrows suspiciously. No one would believe your nonsense. You are just playing a trick on me. I shouldn't have made any bets with you before. You have made a psychological shadow on me. Xia Yunyu put on a cute little expression, and both sides of her cheeks bulged. But just as the two were talking, a voice came from not far away, and the whole audience was quiet in an instant. Bai Zi. Teacher Zhou Qing called softly, and immediately attracted Bai Zi's attention. Teacher Zhou Qing, you are here, Bai Zi greeted with a smile. Seeing this, Teacher Zhou stepped forward, stretched out his hand and gently patted Bai Zi's shoulder, his eyes full of relief. You did a great job. I underestimated you before. Teacher apologizes to you for this and thanks you for bringing honor to Tianzhou Academy this time. Beat Tang Qingcheng and break the undefeated legend, allowing Tianzhou Academy to severely suppress Sulin Academy this time. This unprecedented and even unrepeatable event is enough to be recorded in the history of Sulin province and permanently record the glory of this moment. Haha, I am a student of Tianzhou Academy, this is nothing. What's more, even if I am not a student of Tianzhou Academy, I still have to win this championship, right? Window. Tabula equals window. Tabula. Tabula.push, mode, thumbs feed -01, container, tabula below article feed, placement, below article feed, target. Type, mix.